that he was not going to stay in this city. And I don't even know why he would have even bothered to run for mayor, or why you would endorse somebody that you have obviously heard the rumors, unless you're not connected to any citizens in the city, Mr. Ellis, or I'm sorry, Mayor Ellis. So that's one of the things that's very frustrating to me. And number one being their own, as they will now be mayor, and then two would be the seat that Graves vacated as well. And then you have a super offset majority that has not been voted into office that have been appointed. And that's unacceptable.
Mr. Dunley, I would appreciate it if over the coming days you would prepare a second opinion letter detailing what the process is under state law to either contest an election or to change charter ordinances.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council.
As well, thank you.
I just have one additional comment. If this city council and those that are sitting in the crowd that are going to be on council really do respect the voice of the people, then I would highly recommend that they would elect Steve Owen as our council president and then make him our mayor for this next 4 years. I think that would take a lot of the doubt and the honesty that we're hearing tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and then we have Mr. Buckledge on Inspiration Park.
Hello, Derek Buckridge, 20456 West 220th Terrace. I'm back in Spring Hill, so our drive for this park's kind of going a little further. This is kind of a pop in to plant a seed again that we're getting closer on this park. It's been something in the making, and for most of you, it's familiar faces. For you in the crowd that don't really know, Inspiration Park was kind of a park derived about 2 years ago from Shift, the suicide awareness organization, which our full council supported. This was to bring a skate park on track, other amenities, basketball court, sand volleyball, paved trails and so forth. We are kind of at a position right now. I've spoke with a couple people, and we're kind of at a position with this park where we're trying to get finalized engineered prints so I can bring those in and present them to you and get a city approval so we can actually get this park rolling. The issue we're having is when this park was designed, we weren't originally going to do a parking lot in it. The idea was that we have this existing parking lot that's been, all this money's been spent on. We're going to use this. I've had meetings, I met with Jim Hendershot and, Dylan, kind of when we started laying this out, and they reiterated that they wanted, it was more of Jim Hendershot, wanted a parking lot in this park somewhere, which we're going to be throwing a lot of pavement into this park. It's 7.8 acres. It's not massive, but we're putting a good amount in there and trying to keep this as natural looking as possible. That being said, this was short notice. I saw the update. I just got back here, so I just kind of wanted to pop in and plant that seed. I do have some papers if I'm allowed to pull, pass them around, but it kind of shows the property, and it shows a future road that's supposed to go in, and that road would go straight south from where the roundabout is supposed to go. That being said, you have the development on the backside, on the west side of the property that's going now. There's another landowner, the Rand Group, that own a slither of land, and then they own the land north of the aquatic center and then northeast of the aquatic center. That's how I found the plans in the first place. I asked Jim Hendershot several times, the city has owned this land for 10 plus years. Surely you have some kind of community development around this. Surely there's some kind of print. No, we haven't done a thing. So then that really took my process of trying to get information on this park. It was really it was really irritating. Anyways, I got with Andrea, Dylan, and we were able to basically come up with all this after I met with the Rand Group, who owns this slither of land. He's apparently been in a situation with the city for several years over this road going in, because his property is sole landlocked. He has no access to any of his property. This road would be the access to his property, as well as the future park that we were told to put this parking lot into. So I've been meeting with engineers in my volunteer time on donation. This is literally all being donated so far, you know. Sullivan Palmer Architects, South Johnson Drive, is donating all the engineering for this park. You know, we've had all the surveying already donated, so we're literally trying to get paper prints out, and we just need more direction on what's going to happen with this road. We hate to spend all this time and money into trying to figure out how to get a parking lot in here for a road access that's never going to go in. And then the development on the backside has kind of snaked a road around that makes the way this print is, that's 15 years old at this point, almost not look like it's possible. So we kind of need more of, maybe, I guess I'm seeking more of a liaison from the city, from the rec, that we can bring into a situation to where we have more transparency, more idea of what's going to happen with this park. Because, you know, as this rolls through, this is a park for the community, by the community, that's being donated back to the city to, you know, maintain. So we just feel there needs to be more communication in order to kind of get this thing rolling more into fruition. And that being said, you know, we kind of came up with this idea solely for the skate park, the pump track, you're moving dirt. That makes it easy. We can get grants, fundraising and everything, but the city kind of expressed full support of this. This was supposed to be in the CIP. When I look at the CIP, it shows all the funding for this park is donations, fundraising, and grants. Yet there's still $278,000 that's for the past 3 years, I feel like, in the CIP that's supposed to go to trails and paved trails. You know, I stepped away from the Parks Advisory Board because I felt there was no drive from a board, and here we are supposed to be driving parks and helping, you know, facilitate all this stuff for our community, and there was no voice. You know, you just kind of sat there with nothing to do. So we're back from the sidelines. We have this money that we're putting in a CIP. Why are we not starting some kind of movement on the park to get this thing, you know, maybe rolling a little faster? If we have funds that are coming in from a special tax that we all should be, Veterans Park's done. You know, all the special tax money that's supposed to be going to parks, there's got to be some kind of median to where we're working with parks, we're working with the city to bring this park to the community, you know, and instead of letting this land just sit, you know. But so our main funds and our main goal was obviously to get the skate park and pump track going. And then the city kind of reiterated, you know, and then the Parks Board reiterated that they wanted, you know, mainly Jim Hendershot said, I want actual bathrooms. We don't want temporary porta potties. We want to go with this and we want to go with that. So we feel like with the more pull that the city wants to, you know, and the more like, you know, input the city wants in the park, we feel like there should be some kind of kickback from the city, because if we're raising this all on donations, we're gonna be raising money for 15 years trying to raise $1.5 million or $2 million to build something that's, you know, we're gonna be able to do it for, you know, donations, you know, from local contractors and stuff, but there's gonna be stuff that we have to spend money on. So we're just kind of looking for somewhere within the city that we can get a contact with, or we can get some kind of situation set up, you know, to get that going.
Mr. Eckert's been the liaison with Shift, so his contact information is available on the city's website, so
And
you two can.
We have spoken.
Okay.
We've spoken, yeah.
We're still kind of at a standstill.
Yeah, and so
Next step,
it's,
which direction do we take?
yeah, and it's really, what's going on with this road? If this road's not going in, where can we find a median? We just need an answer so this engineer can get the park laid out within the boundaries. And we can go to these contractors, get bids, or we can go and, you know, work on true funding. Because right now it's still an idea. Until I get prints, this is an
Right.
idea.
Right, Mr. Burton.
Yes, thank you. So at this time, most of that ground has sold. That street, we are working on to send it through right now. So with
The Southern Street,
the street that will connect the development that is being built now with
Okay.
Aquatic Center Drive, what's that? I don't know what the name is. Sycamore. Also, in projects in our CIP, we've changed our way of thinking. Of course, you know, we worked hard on the budget to get this back in line. We have a lot of shovel-ready projects, or darn close. If we can get plans, then we can place that on there, and then we can see where we're gonna do funding. There is a lot of projects in the pipeline right now with large park projects, 30 acres or more, most of it donated that the city will have to spend some money on. The other thing is we have
Where's that at?
I'm not at liberty yet because we have not presented it.
But, so, I mean, if we presented this park and now we're, I mean, which you donated land, that's awesome, but you
No,
sit on
no,
land.
I'm not criticizing anything. Really what I'm trying to say is if we can get some plans, I can work with you on it
Okay.
quickly. But I can't do anything. I can't take it to planning commission because we have to follow the same guidelines as everyone else.
Right, and get
So-
approval for this park, yeah, we're like, that's what we're trying to say,
And,
we're trying
and
to
the
get to
same
that approval
guidelines
part.
with the plans. So I'll be more than happy to work with you on it and I'll be more than happy to place it in CIP with council's approval. As you can see, we got a lot more projects completed this year.
Yeah, and it's great, I commend
Didn't borrow
everybody,
much
like,
money.
I mean,
The other thing we have to keep in mind is remember that we do have debt service fund on veterans as well as the pool. And so a lot of our Parks Fund money that's collected does go to debt service, so.
And
But
that
I'll be
was-
more than happy to work with you on
Right.
it if we can get some plans.
That's what I was also gonna ask, Ms. Armstrong, I'd like you to get some information put together on when the debt pays off on the aquatic center, when the debt pays off on Veterans Park. Those special tax funds actually pay the debt.
right,
And it was designed specifically for those two projects, but I don't believe that tax has a sunset date.
that's what
Right.
was the understanding when we
No,
presented.
it doesn't have, it does not have a
Right.
sunset, but
So
we
that
just
means
increased
that-
debt on there by $1 million.
Right. That also means that as sales tax dollars increase through increased retail activity, for example, Quick Trip, for example, some of the retail sites at the pre-project when it gets going, if it exceeds what we need for the debt service, that frees up funds as well. But Mr. Burton, if the two of you could get together and talk at some point in the
Listen,
next
I reached
few
out
days-
today, but it was
Okay.
kind of, this was short notice, so this wasn't me like trying to stomp on you guys. It was just, you know, I've been out of town, you know, I've spent a lot of time and a lot of my volunteer energy into this park and meeting with engineers and meeting surveyors and getting with the community on stuff, you know, we stood up here and I forgot which council member it was, said, you know, I've seen a lot of you people, you know, and you know, you kind of wear off after time, you know, but we're here to kind of keep this going, you know, we're here to, you know,
Well, and several of us have contributed to that
yeah,
financially
we
as well.
appreciate it very
So
much.
we want
And
to,
the Mayor's Christmas
it.
Tree Fund, we
Yep.
greatly appreciate it, and
We want to see that. We want to see that come to fruition.
we do too. I guess that kind of leads me, I mean, and maybe this is a parks, or maybe this is something I could speak with Pat, you know. If this land is sitting here, you know, I would like to start, you know, maybe utilizing some of it. Like, let me go in and build some single track, a nature trail through the tree lines and
I would
nothing.
love to, but I have to be really careful on, let's take Dayton Creek, for example. Before they could go in and start building their trail system, all it has to be approved by planning commission. And, I mean, if you wanna put a plan together and have it like in layers, and just say, okay, my first phase is gonna be, well, I'm sorry, what'd you call it? Your
Well,
dirt
it's like
trail.
just a single track and nature trail.
I understand, but it still is a improvement of the property.
Right.
And so if you can get a plan, I can get it to planning.
Well, so I mean, I don't know if you know my back. I'm the trail steward at Big Bull Creek Trails in Gardner Edgerton. So I build and maintain I'm part of a not-for-profit that
And
volunteer and build trails.
I understand, and those trails are all approved through the park.
Right, yeah,
Way
no,
ahead
that's
of
fine.
time.
I
And
just,
that's all I have to do.
okay,
I'll be more than happy to.
all right, that's fine.
So we'll just work on it and we'll get it going.
Yeah, if we can phase it in.
We're just trying to like within, you know, get something kind of rolling on the property because we know wherever we're building this single track dirt trail, that's where the paved trail's going to go. So I'm going out there doing alignments on the property, you know, to get this engineered. And I'm already taking GPS nodes of this whole entire area. So I mean, it's something I can just get to you in, you know, GPS form and everything as well.
And we should be able to get to you shortly, all the plans and all on the development that's gonna occur in that area.
Awesome. I guess then the last thing, and I appreciate the time, is, you know, we just repaved Webster. It looks awesome. Bike access, I know we don't have a lot of sidewalk access. It would have been a great opportunity to slap some painted share the road with cyclists. You know, Spring Hill's a destination town for a lot of these gravel cyclists and stuff. You can get 30, 40 groups, and it annoys the hell out of some people. I get it, but they're out there trying to, you know, get a workout and enjoy it. So just keeping cyclists and everybody safe on the road. I think we missed trying to progress as a city. I think we missed a really good opportunity to slap some paint down and, you know, kind of show some progression.
Mr. Burton, would we have had room for that?
It's not a bike lane, so this is a share road.
Okay.
It's just saying, yeah, it's just saying you're basically, this is the route that's
Just-
designated
The,
as a safe route, you
the
know?
problem with that is, I mean, those plans were already in the works.
Sure.
And it's been sitting. The other we would have had to get some of the area through there where if it's a share of the road, there's different markings and all, and the plans were already bid and all.
Well, I mean.
No, and it's future. We can-
It's just painted markings, or it's like a sign,
Can-
literally like a stop sign that's a square that says share the road and it's got a cyclist. I'm just saying,
Absolutely.
there's
Let's see what
opportunities
we
for
can do.
progression.
look into
you
This
know?
sounds like a relatively simple solution, which I understand when we're dealing with roads, that's probably naive. But let's look at it and see what we can do.
Cool. Thank you.
And again, if you can phase in your approach and start with some of the smaller stuff that you're wanting to do, get all of that to Mr. Burton, he'll get it through to the planning commission.
Great, I appreciate everybody's time.
All right,
That's
thank
great.
you very much.
Got two things real quick on
Go ahead.
that. One is Mr. Messer, you and I had talked about possibly cutting in a path in after last meeting at that location and also along the bank on the Veterans Park. Do you think that that's something we can work with them on? I'm just asking, is that something that, you and I talked about trying to get something like that moving forward? Do you think that's something we could work with them on to provide some temporary on that? Okay. That's along the lines of, our conversation is right along the lines of what he was talking about tonight. Then going back to I believe it was the 2009 referendum. One thing that we probably need to look at also too for that is the verbiage of what the funds were gonna be used for in the actual referendum themselves. Because they were
Yes.
approved for I think it specifically said an aquatic center and for the West Side Lake,
Yeah, $1
so
million for Westside Lake and
we'll have to,
actually phase 1 and 2 of the aquatic center.
so even if it doesn't sunset,
Yeah, we'll look at that, but obviously we'll work towards other funding, cash funding for it. So we can do that easy enough. Not easy enough, but we can work towards that.
Okay.
but that's the problem is even if it does sunset, if the verbiage was very limited, then we may not be able to use it for.
No, and that's what I was getting at. I'm sorry. We would not use those funds. We will find funding for it, geared towards that, and with different developments coming in and all, we'll find funding.
But let's also look at the language on that. I'm not sure that it was as restrictive.
That's what I just wanna make
Let's-
sure that if we were to go that direction and to have those funds appropriated for it, that somebody else would not come along and then try to block that.
Right.
Based off of that, so.
Okay. Mr. Boswell.
Yes, I wanted to also remember to speak about the South Main Street property that was abated on the widow's behalf. I would like to know where we are with returning the ATVs and equipment, or what's going to happen there, if we have any ideas.
I've received no word back from Frank Jenkins' counsel.
Okay.
I'll reach out to him.
Thank you very much.
It has been a plethora of time to get an answer, a simple answer as to what we can do about this. And at this point, I would really appreciate it if we could get an answer within the next week, if that's possible. Mr. Jenkins knew about it, a month ago? So I just don't understand why it hasn't been answered, and more than likely that property is by now, far long gone. So how are we gonna do, is the city going to reimburse for that? Or are you just going to tell this widow, sorry, it's gone? And even though she has titles for some of those things and was given no, and also they were taken illegally out of the backyard, can we charge somebody with theft?
At this point, I will address the matter with Mr. Jenkins. I will find out exactly where it stood. The matter has not been transferred to me or brought to my attention. It's the first I've heard of it. However, it's a matter that clearly needs to be addressed. I will take that up with Mr. Jenkins as soon as possible and endeavor to get an answer back to council by the next meeting and to Mr. Burton, if at all possible, prior to that time.
Okay.
Otherwise, to address your other questions, I apologize, I would be speculating.
Yes,
I don't wish to do that.
I understand.
If you follow up with Mr. Boswell when you have that information.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Floor remains open. Hearing none, we'll go ahead and close that portion of the meeting and move on to our one and only presentation of Chief Henson.
Okay. So as many of you already know, we got Loki through a donation by Olathe Police. Loki got a second chance to serve a community with his drive and skill as a police canine officer. He is a Shepherd Belgian Malinois mix and is nearly 2 years old. Loki is special and he has a very infectious personality. He loves going to work with Officer Whiff. His favorite part of working is getting to play with his toys. Loki is very athletic. He's very fast, has a 10-foot vertical jump, and would probably win a gold medal in the long jump. We're very excited that he's a member of our team, and we look forward to witnessing his full potential and him interacting with the community in future events. And with that, I'd like to ask his handler, Officer Whiff, to present and, well, I was going to say drape, but I guess attach his collar with his official K9 badge. There you go. So welcome, Loki, Officer. He's happy to be here. Oh, he's going to eat the badge. All right. So thank you.
Officer Whiff. Yes, sir. There has been, I think, some unfortunate misinterpretation in the media, and I believe it has resulted in some unintended blowback to Loki's former handler. And I just want to make clear publicly today and to anybody watching that nobody at the city of Olathe is faulted with anything, and that the circumstances simply worked out well, that we had a need, Olathe was willing to fulfill that need for us, and that we were able to put Loki into service. We had no control over what the media had to say, but on at least my behalf, our sincerest apologies to Olathe's handler, who I understand has been receiving some pretty unkind messages. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Thank you, Chief. Next item is the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Excuse me. Prior to that, we will request the removal of 2 items on the consent agenda.
Oh.
Items 5 and 6. On the consent agenda, we're also going to, on the formal council agenda, item 18 should be, we're requesting the removal of. I specifically am requesting the removal of these items.
So delete 18.
5 and 6.
5 and 6 and 18.
Okay.
We're,
Removed, not moving around. They're off the agenda for tonight.
no, I thought, are we deleting 5 and 6 or moving it to formal?
No, we're moving them off of the agenda.
So deleting them.
So move them
Deleting
off
them.
completely. Okay, delete.
5, 6, and 18.
5, 6, and 18, please delete off the agenda.
Okay.
Do we
Are
need to
those
revise
simply
the
just, we haven't, because the agenda is a special meeting, we didn't do
The-
it.
the- They're specifically regarding ongoing contract negotiations, and certain language and understandings that are not reflected in the language. So they need to be,
So they're not ready to be on the agenda.
they're not ready at this time.
All right, very good. We can just simply delete, that's right. Had
I'm gonna make a
somebody
motion.
put a motion out already?
There isn't, it has been seconded, but
Okay.
we recognize it.
Friendly, okay. Will you
Move to amend the agenda as stated.
Friendly
Second
second.
agenda.
All right. Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0-0. This takes us to the first of our formal council action items. This is the consideration of the approval of the appropriation order 2011-11-18. Is there a motion?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Item
On my
number
paper.
17.
Move to approve the appropriation order 2021-11-18.
Second
A
motion.
motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, we'll vote by roll. Madam Clerk, if you call the roll of the council, please.
Mr. Leighton,
Yes.
Mr. Eckert,
Yes.
Mr. Owen,
Yes.
Mrs. Roth,
I approve appropriation order number 2021-11-18, accepting that I have partially abstained from voting on invoices pertaining to J&T Auto Service.
Motion carries 4-0-0. This takes us to item number 19, consideration of approval of budgeted transfers from special sales tax. Ms. Armstrong, you have the floor. Thank you for removing this to formal.
Thank you. The item that I have in front of you is to consider an authorized transfer of funds as scheduled in the 2021 budget. The transfers listed below, and that would be a transfer from special sales tax county, and the receipt fund to transfer to is listed as capital projects, but that should also be capital replacement equipment fund. And if anyone is going by the numbers, that would be the city's Fund 320, and that's for $100,000. The second transfer is for a transfer from the general fund. Special parks is a transfer from the general fund in an amount equal to budgeted general fund receipts from the state's alcohol disbursement. And I did do some historical research into these, and we talked a little bit earlier about sales tax, and I did research, and I have some information on the sales taxes come in. I thought it would be a good time. So in your board meeting folder, you have a list, and it shows our year-to-date sales tax, and it will be on the website if it's not on the website yet.
Okay.
But I wanted to show how much had come in sales tax and where this $100,000 was going to be transferred from. So if you find in your folder, it should be sales tax totals year to date. And there's 2 pages. The first page is just a summary of sales tax, and it shows what we've received 2021, $2,703,249. That compares to last year at the same time, $2,170,041. That is an increase from last year's actual, not from budget, of $533,000. And so the columns to the left, it gets sliced and diced in a few ways, but it shows the percentage of the increase or the change from last year's actual to this year. And then on the second page of that, this is by line item. And so a lot of our sales tax goes into our general fund, and it's considered general fund revenue. And so those items are listed. You see the actual budget and our year-to-date. The 2020 actual is a full 12 months. The 2021 budget is a 12-month budget, and that 2021 year-to-date is through October. So we have received in our general fund $198,000 more in sales and use tax revenue this year than we did last year. Nope, that would be to our budget, excuse me. That's more than our budget. And the next items down, which are our special use taxes, that Fund 226, this is the fund where we are recommending to transfer the $100,000 from this Johnson County sales tax and use tax, and we have collected to date approximately $100,000, and we would be recommending that we transfer that. And historically, over the last few years, I've looked back, and this is how we have funded this equipment fund. And our equipment fund pays for some lease obligations for our vehicles, and then it also purchases outright some budgeted equipment that's in there. The next items in that Fund 225, that is the fund that is our special recreation tax. So we will do some more research on that. We'll look at that and see how those numbers look in that fund, but that is where those debt payments get paid out of that. Okay, so then the next transfer is from the general fund special parks to special parks. And I did some historical research on this item as well. Some questions came up in the budget as to what was the nature of that specific transfer. So I did look back and I found some notations going back as far as 2000 that there was a transfer in that year, and I don't know how long we've been doing those, but that transfer, the notation said it's proposed to transfer the general fund share to the special parks fund so that the entire amount of this tax is being used for that fund. So I did skip a little bit over. That alcohol fund, in 1979, there was an alcohol fund adopted by the state, and it's by KSA 7941A04. And according to that legislation, we receive these alcohol funds and we deposit them 1/3 to the general fund, 1/3 to special parks, and 1/3 to a special alcohol and drug program. A couple years ago, the city did some extra work and an ordinance to specify more specifically how those special alcohol and drug programs should be spent. But what this item is dealing with the 1/3 of that deposit that goes directly to the general fund. And I believe the thought was at the time, we probably didn't have any other way to fund our parks. And so the city was looking at this as a means to fund that. So what I am asking for is the amount that was in our budget, and that's $22,000. Year to date, we've received approximately $77,000 or $25,900 into each of those three funds. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
Sounds like you did a lot of digging, a lot of researching to come to this.
Well, I've got to tell you, there is a very helpful person that always knows where to do the research, and that's Miss Garrity. She helps me out a tremendous amount of the time. So if you need to know something, she is the source, and she did help me with that.
All right, would entertain a motion.
Move to approve budgeted transfers from special sales tax.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 400. Thank you, Ms. Armstrong.
Thank you.
Next item up is consideration of approval of bids for 199th Street and Webster Pump Station in Forest, Maine. Is Mr. Miller, there he is. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I come before you this evening subsequent to a bidding process for the 199th Street and Webster Pump Station in Forest, Maine. This lift station will be located right off the corner of 199th and US 169 Highway. It will serve both development underway now and future development in all the corners of that intersection as a very necessary item. We finished design work on this earlier in the year. We put out the bids. 3 bids were received on November 4th, 2021. And we anticipate construction to begin, or at least a notice to proceed, in December 2021. Scope of the work includes a pump station with fairly deep wet well of 30-some feet and about 1,400 feet of force main pipe to tie into the system up at the top of the hill south of there. We did include with the agenda item review sheet in the package, the bid tab and recommendation letter that have been reviewed by city staff. The low bidder was Lina Weaver Construction, Inc. They do have prior experience with this type of project. The recommendation is being presented in accordance with the City of Spring Hill purchasing policy. Construction cost is estimated at $555,960, and that will be paid for out of the wastewater fund, which has adequate funds for this purpose. Lina Weaver, as you probably know, or might know, is the successful contractor that just completed our 2019 CARS program, the 199th and Ridgeview Roundabout. I'll be bringing, just as an aside, the final pay estimate on that, which is under budget, to the December council meeting. Excellent contractor. We're really fortunate to have them and to have a price that we can afford, and particularly in this particular environment. So staff recommends the governing body authorize Mayor Ellis to execute the notice of award to Liney Weaver Construction for the bid in the total amount of $555,960. If the council approves that, we will bring the contract for approval at the December meeting. I'm open to any questions you may have.
Do you have an idea of the timeline to completion?
Yes, it's July, to coincide with basically with the anticipated opening of the Quick Trip.
Is that the deadline that's in the background in the council packet? The December?
Yes, it has a completion deadline in the contract.
That's still valid, okay.
July 1, I don't remember the exact date, but July of 2022.
Well, the council packet right on this summary doesn't say the date, but it does say July of 2022, so if that hasn't changed. Okay. Move to approve the 199th Street and Webster Pump Station and Force Main project in the amount of $555,000 and $555,960 to Lynn Weaver Construction.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0-0. Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Thank you.
Next item is consideration of approval of Resolution 2021-R-15, 2022 salaries of various city officers and employees of the city of Spring Hill. Welcome to our Human Resources Manager, Ms. Jones.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me well?
Or if I maybe move a little closer to the microphone.
Is that better? There we go. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, hello, everybody. I'm here to talk about the resolution for the salaries of the employees of the city. And I'll start out by just saying I don't you know me, I've met with you before, and I don't necessarily read everything that I've written on here. So I'll just point out the highlights that, generally speaking, we have our salary structure every year. We look at it at around this time of the year to set it for the upcoming year. And if there's any ad hoc reviews obviously necessary throughout the year, we'll look at it at that point. Our annual review has been done solely with the use of the Department of Labor's Consumer Price Index, the CPI, which looks at the change over the preceding 12-month period. And while that has been helping the city to close any type of gaps that we may have out with the market when it comes to recruitment and retention of talent, comprehensive reviews of the salary structure should generally be done every 3 to 5 years. Otherwise, they become very stagnant and makes it difficult to not only recruit talent as well as to retain them. The hiccup with the recruitment of talent, not only with a stagnant resolution in general, but obviously in the last couple of years with COVID, we have definitely seen a shift in the market where it is hard for organizations to find talent. It is definitely a candidate-driven market out there with regard to, the candidates are kind of driving the salary ranges and the opportunities that employers are having to agree upon to recruit those individuals. So with that said, when I started about 2 years ago, I had the goal of completing a comprehensive review and not knowing anything that was going to happen with COVID, but just from the standpoint of having a stagnant review of the salary structure, because the last time the city did one was back in 2014. And so it was recently in October that I finished that review. And what you can see is that not only from just the stagnant review, the stagnant salary structure that we had, that there was definitely a change that needed to be done because of that, as well as what has been driven by the market with COVID. We've seen I saw positions that increased anywhere from the current CPI as of September was 5.9% change, where we've seen that in the past it's been very low, anywhere from 1.9% in 2019 to 1.3% in 2020. So to see the CPI index change to 5.9% was a drastic change. The October data just recently got loaded, and it's actually gone up to 6.9%. And the November data isn't scheduled to be out until next month in December, but I anticipate it to show either the same as 6.9 or even higher. But that's, again, just speaking of the CPI index. But the actual comprehensive review of our salaries has shown that we were off from the market anywhere from 5.9% up to about 27%. Looking at all the positions that we have, the average was about 11.55%. So there was definitely a need to change these salary ranges so that we can make sure that we could attract talent as well as also be able to retain talent. We have lost some individuals here in the last couple of months that have gone to organizations that are able to pay them a little bit more in terms of their pay based off of what they're offering for their ranges of positions. So we want to make sure that we're able to retain individuals. With that said, the findings of the review, as you can see from the attached salary resolution, I propose that we change the ranges of those positions and as well as implement the change immediately so that we are able to increase the minimum wages of employees that are below the new minimum wage, as well as look at those employees that have been with the city for at least 6+ years to give them an increase in their pay so that we can show some to address the equity and potential compression adjustments because of the other adjustments. In the past, the city has been utilizing the CPI and adjusting the minimum and maximum ranges, but that was only impacting those employees that were below that amount. The employees that had been with the city for considerable amount of years were not getting their pay changed with the CPI, so that is causing some compression and equity issues there. If we implement the changes to the salary resolution as presented and also increase the employees' pay that have been here for at least 6+ years, we are looking at a potential budget impact. I have put in the agenda $96,864.26. I will say that has been corrected to make sure that we correctly accounted for taxes and contributions to retirement. So working with Luann Armstrong and Finance, Director of Finance, that number did go up to $106,299.23 for the general fund impact. So I just want to make sure that I give full transparency on the numbers there. So the staff does recommend, possible options is to approve this resolution. We could deny it and table it for a December meeting. You can just request more information and place it on the next agenda, but staff does recommend that the governing body approve this resolution to be effective as of December 25th, 2021. Any questions?
I do. Why the magic number 6? Is that what the dice fell onto, or is there some kind of methodology behind saying 6 years is a good mark?
Well, that did have some methodology behind that. I was looking at the fact that, we are a small organization, so with our employees, we could look at the individuals that have been here 10+ years, 20+ years, but not a lot of our employees have been here for that long. A lot of our employees are in that new hiring period, myself being one of them. I've only been with the city for about 2 years. So I tried to look at a number that was showing some significance of longevity with the city, but not making it so high that those individuals that have been with us through the tough times in the last several years were not being recognized. And that's where that 6 number came from.
Okay, because I would favor maybe possibly a 3-year. Looking at a 3 year as a benchmark, that's my opinion on that. The other question I have is in regards to typically or historically it's been presented as we need these pay raises to attract and retain the best employees there is. Well, it's no secret that every small municipality like ourselves are stepping stones for bigger and better things. That's just the nature of work as we enter into that world. So I think that's kind of an empty statement to say something like that. I certainly want to be competitive for given the size of our municipality versus others. So kind of a blanket statement that doesn't need a response.
Okay.
Are you requesting this be tabled?
I am, sir.
Okay.
The opinion of moving it to 3 years for that benchmark as opposed to 6.
Okay.
Just my opinion.
That would require some analysis for cost impact. Is there any opposition to tabling this? Would entertain a motion to table to the December 9th meeting.
Move to table until the December 9th meeting.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries 4-0-0. I think my comment would be is I don't have an issue with the three. I think the
Yeah.
question would be is what is the most appropriate for us? You know, so,
Right.
you know, we're up here completely just taking wild
Right.
ass.
Shots in the dark.
Mr. Burton? So,
Well, I was just curious if the question was just that portion of it. Thank you.
Just the 3 years.
Yeah, it would be the 3 years, but also the financial impact
Right.
of such a choice.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's all part and parcel.
Yep.
Okay.
Ms. Jones, thank you very much. Don't go very far. Next item is item number 22, consideration of designation of 2022 legal holidays for the city of Spring Hill. That'll be 2021 R16.
Ms. Glenda's making you work.
That's okay, thank you. Yes, so, I'm here to discuss the designation of the 2022 legal holidays. And I hope this isn't considered a blanket statement, but the city does value work-life balance among its employees. And so our attempt to do that obviously is to give our employees some paid holidays off during the year. And historically, the city has given 9 paid holidays, and they've been the same 9 paid holidays, at least for the last several years that I can see looking back. And that is what is currently listed in our employee handbook as well. So today, the caveat of me requesting the governing body to look at our holidays is not only to consider those 9 paid holidays that we always look at, but to consider the fact that as of June of 2021, the government has approved and added to its latest federal holidays Juneteenth. And this I will read to make sure that we have clear understanding of the importance of Juneteenth. Juneteenth is the first new federal holiday since the inclusion of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Juneteenth signifies the Americans in Galveston, Texas that were finally free from bondage on June 19, 1865. Notice was given to the residents of Galveston, Texas, 2 years after Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation and 2 months after the Civil War. It was the start of addressing a long legacy of systematic racism, inequality, and inhumanity, a recognition that everyone is free. Having this day become a federal holiday is significant for the country as we continue to work towards equitable treatment for all, and adding it to the city's observed holidays is commendable for the city. I will point out that to permanently add a 10th holiday to the city's given paid holidays has to be done through the approval of the employee handbook. So what I'm looking for is the stipulation that says that that the mayor can be given authority to designate other holidays as special holidays. So for 2022, adding Juneteenth as a special holiday until a further request can be made to add it permanently to the city's paid holidays. Compensation for this is the same it has been in previous years, that holiday is calculated as a straight rate of pay. In order to receive pay for an observed holiday, an employee must not have been absent without paid leave on the workday preceding or following the holiday. If an employee is scheduled to work on the actual holiday, a city observed holiday will be paid for all hours, and then they will get personal leave equal to half an hour for every hour worked. So there's a maximum potential of 4 hours of personal leave that can be granted if they work on the holiday. This is seasonal, part-time, and temporary employees do not receive paid holidays. The city employees that will be scheduled to actually work on Juneteenth reside in our police department. And so working with the chief and with Luann in finance, we've estimated that there's potential for 6 employees to be scheduled to work, resulting in the 4 hours of personal leave accrued for each of those employees. So the monetary budget impact, taking into account the possibility of overtime, if those personal hours were used, could be anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000. And again, that's just the possibility. We're not saying overtime would happen, but I want to make sure that I had full disclosure on the potential for the budget impact. So the possible options for this would be to approve this resolution, deny the resolution, or request more information and put on the next agenda. But staff does recommend that we approve this resolution and show that this is of value to add this additional holiday. Any questions?
Yes. What about the possibility of floating holidays, given the different religions that some celebrate? Would there be a possibility, Mr. Mayor, maybe you have some insight on this, would it be a possibility to have one or two floating holidays that said employee could take for their observance of a religious holiday in their world? Do you understand what I'm asking?
We can amend the employee manual. The problem becomes one of scheduling. So if we have a number of people who would, for example, like to take off the Juneteenth holiday, we'll end up having to deny some people.
But Juneteenth is gonna be recognized in this.
Oh, you're asking in addition to
In addition
Juneteenth?
to one or two floating holidays, for some reason, we didn't recognize one that is important to someone. Do you understand what I'm
I
asking?
do, yeah, I'm sorry, I thought you were asking
No,
in
we're
lieu
recognizing
of,
that, and I'm
so,
great.
okay.
I
Fantastic.
thought you were, that's what I understood you were asking too, so.
Are there no floating holidays? Because we have a pooled PTO bank,
Right, so right now we don't have any,
per se.
right, we have a personal day that employees get at the beginning of the year. We get one, and then it increases after a certain amount of years. I don't have that exact amount of years. And then we have these particular paid holidays that we give. So your question in terms of setting it up so that we give just a floating holiday, anybody can choose what day they want to be off?
Right, a personal day, yeah. What I would recommend is, for one, go ahead.
No, finish your thought.
I was gonna say, if we can go ahead and get this resolution passed, have Ms. Jones come back with what the cost impact would be to add one or more personal days.
Floating holidays, personal days, however you like.
Same thing, yeah,
Yeah,
same thing.
however you like. I would also like to see, we have one personal day in the employee handbook. I would like to see a day added, maybe like a mental health day, so to speak. Something to consider for
I
discussion.
would just
certainly.
kind of keep it as a personal.
Yeah, I
day.
think personal days would be
That
good.
would
Also,
suffice the
keep in
mental
mind,
health day?
there's paid sick time as well, and that can certainly be used under that.
I just want to
category.
make sure we're encompassing, you know what I'm saying, everything on that.
I think you would title it as a personal day, because then if you do it as like a mental health day, then that just implies a lot of things for certain people. And then there are other people who, because it would be noted that way, wouldn't take it.
Good, that statement will be out there.
Right, and there is sick time too, which I think that would be an appropriate use
I
for
want
it.
to make sure we're doing the best to meet
So,
their needs.
certainly. So, Ms. Jones, if you would come back with a cost analysis for adding, you can do it for just one personal day, we can multiply, so.
Okay,
All right.
it's okay to leave Juneteenth in here and then come back with the additional day?
And we'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution. Again, that is resolution number
Okay.
2021 R-16.
And that would be an addendum, right, if we come back?
It would just be a new resolution.
New resolution.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Does the resolution need to provide leeway for the mayor to provide guidance on the employee handbook?
No, I mean, it would
Well, I mean,
encompass the change by
I'm talking about-
operation of necessity.
Well,
She had mentioned something about having latitude.
Well, I mentioned for the employee handbook to permanently add this, because this request is not so that going forward it's always gonna be included. We'd have to get that added through the employee handbook.
And that's usually addressed by an ordinance, is that correct? Mr.
No,
Conway?
that may be addressed by resolution. But
Resolution,
But
okay.
the draft resolution is for the 1-year recognition. The request that Ms. Jones made was for the recognition of Juneteenth with the holidays that the city already recognizes at this time, and is requesting that the council also authorize the mayor to subsequently execute a permanent resolution amending the employee handbook, which is the same thing as the uniform personnel policies of the city, to incorporate Juneteenth permanently within the handbook.
Okay, I would rather the resolution be brought before the council.
That's fine.
Okay, so when it's ready, just bring it before the council.
That was the request.
So, no, that's fine.
So we'll just.
We're just gonna keep it, right.
Okay. Move to approve resolution number 2021-R-16.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0-0. Ms. Jones, thank you very much. It's always a busy time of year as is, and I know that adds to your plate, so,
No problem. Thank you.
all right. That takes us to announcements and reports. I just wanted to make a mention at the Chamber Annual Dinner last week. 2 of our businesses were recognized as Businesses of the Year For retail, it was Pop Sweet Shop on Main Street. And for the service business, Grant Ewing of Edward Jones at the Spring Hill office. So I'd just like to congratulate those folks. I'd also like to remind everybody that as we venture into the holiday season, the Chamber is sponsoring a $100 giveaway. If you shop and provide proof of shopping at 8 or more Spring Hill businesses or Spring Hill Chamber member businesses that may not be in the corporate limits of the city. And I believe that information is probably available on the Chamber's website. Other than that, I wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving. And Mr. Owen.
Nothing tonight.
Mr. Leeton.
There was a lot of comments to this evening about what the mayoral election was. Just for people's knowledge, one, I didn't even know that it was even going down until my wife texted me at 6:15 because I had my head all day long at a report that I was writing. So it was a little bit of more than a little bit, a big surprise to me as well. And then the same thing, have a happy Thanksgiving. So.
All right, thank you. Mr. Eckert.
Yeah, curious, there's been so much talk about who's costing the city so much money. I'm just wondering, how much is this fiasco of the aforementioned former council member, Mr. Grave, costing the city with all the shenanigans that are underway? So to me, that's frustrating. My position has always been to stamp out waste, fraud, and abuse. And when you see these kind of things come up, it hits on all fronts on that kind of stuff. So it's very frustrating in my viewpoint. It's also frustrating to have speak about the skate park or the bicycle park or the ramp park coming to Spring Hill. It's a grassroots. It's coming up. Mr. Buckridge has worked his tail off on that stuff to get it going, and I share his frustration because sometimes the wheels move slow, and that's just the nature of the beast. Oftentimes, it just does. But it's a little frustrating that he was asking the rec center for a department, and they're sitting on their thumbs. I think they would be enthralled and excited to work with someone with that going forward. So that's a little frustrating as well. Otherwise, there was a lot of accusations talked around tonight, some directed at you, Councilmember Roth. And if that's true, if you are out slandering people running for council as a sitting council member, that is disheartening, to say the least, if that is true. I just think when we're up here, we're held to a much higher standard on how we conduct ourselves 7 days a week. And I'll leave that alone. I wish everyone a very, very happy and safe Thanksgiving. Congratulations to our dog, which was pretty awesome to see. That always warms my heart when we have such a lovely dog to serve our citizens. That is it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Roth.
I'm pretty disappointed that the spewing that's happening right now. No, sir. I won't have a conversation here. If anybody would like to reach out to me directly, you are more than welcome to. My information is on the city website.
Sir,
I also
sir,
won't be
in the
interrupted.
audience, please let the council member speak. The opportunity for public comments was made at the beginning. This is now the opportunity for the council members to make their comments. We would request that members of the public remain respectful and allow the meeting to continue.
Ms. Roth.
If anybody'd like to reach out to me to hear what took place, my contact information is on the website. Anybody's more than welcome to reach out to me. I would love to have a conversation.
All right.
That's part of what I love about my job is I get to talk to anywhere from 15 to 20 city taxpayers every single day at work, and I love it. I truly love it and enjoy it. So if anybody wants to reach out, they're more than welcome to. I also echo the happy Thanksgiving and hope everybody can move forward in a positive way.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll move on to staff reports. Mr. Burton.
The only thing I really have to say is we forgot to note that that lift station that was 550 plus or minus tonight, we had actually anticipated 750,000 spending on it. So it's $200,000 that, you know, and that's good. I do not have a report on the water tonight. We're still working, getting through the meters. So I do not have a report on that. And happy Thanksgiving.
All right, thank you very much. Madam Clerk? Ms. Armstrong? Mr. Messer? And Chief Henson? All right, Mr. Dunley?
Only report is today I prepared a memorandum for the governing body and the public as to the effects of resignation and the impact that the city will deal with as relates to if he is indeed no longer qualified on January 10th.
Okay. And that, again, has been posted online. All right, anything else?
Nothing further.
All right, thank you very much. We have 2 executive sessions. For our first one, Mr. Tiedemann, do you anticipate formal action, or are you simply looking for consensus?
No formal action.
Okay, so we don't have any formal action there. Mr. Dunley, do we anticipate formal action after the second executive session?
No formal action.
All right, thank you very much.
Mayor, I move we go into executive, somebody changed the wording on this one here. Mayor, I hereby move we go into executive session to discuss pending litigation with retained counsel pursuant to the exception of the Kansas Open Meetings Act for matters deemed privileged attorney-client communication and so deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship underneath the Kansas Open Meetings Act for 10 minutes, and the open meeting will resume at, do we need to take a break, or should we just go right in?
Go right in, please.
Returning at 8:20, I'll say 8:28.
We have a second?
We're meeting.
I need people in
Oh, I'm
attendance.
sorry.
I paused. I was looking at the call. Persons to be in attendance are the following: Kurt Tideman, Lathrop, GPM, Pat Burton, Interim City Administrator.
We're meeting for 10 minutes, and I second it.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. We'll continue on in executive session, and again, no formal action is anticipated. Mr. Tiedemann, you can approach.
Oh, really?
Hey, and I went, oh, what?
We are back in open
up.
session. The discussion was limited to the topic stated. No votes were taken, no decisions were made. Would entertain a motion to extend for 5 minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. We'll resume an executive session for 5 minutes.
That's why. And I'm gonna change that.
Yeah. We are back in open session. The discussion was limited to the topic stated. No decisions were made, no votes were taken. Would entertain a motion to convene into our second executive session.
Mayor, hereby move, we go, move in, man, they changed this into something different. Mayor, I hereby move, we go into executive session to discuss pending litigation with retained counsel pursuant to the exception of the Kansas Open Meetings Act for matters deemed privileged attorney-client communication, as so deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship under Kansas Open Meetings Act for 5 minutes. The open meeting will resume at 8:42. F. Charles, the persons to be in attendance are the following: F. Charles Dunley, City Attorney; Pat Burden, Interim City Administrator.
Second. A motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Carries 4-0. We'll carry on in executive session. We are back in open session. The discussion is limited to the topic stated. No decisions were made, no votes were taken. Would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Have a good night.
All right.